Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started soon here. We're just waiting for the rest of the people to trickle in, and then we'll get started. All right, everybody, it is 10:30. We're going to get started. Our webinar today is Understanding Your Customer's Experience with Mary Kosovich. Just so you guys know, you will be getting a email later in the day with the slides, a copy of the slides, as well as the recording. So you'll have both of those to refer to in the future. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat or in the Q&A. If you want to speak directly, you can raise your hand. And if we don't answer your question right away, sometimes we save some till the end. So you will get answered. But with that, I will hand things over to Mary. Good morning, Mary. Uh-oh, hold on, Mary. You're muted. Sorry, everybody.
Is that better, Laura?
Hi.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good
And
morning.
my name is Mary Kosovich. I'm a volunteer with SCORE. And today we're going to talk about how you can impact your underlying profitability by performing a few simple steps, which will help you better understand your customer journey. Now, if I told you that you could improve your profitability just by a little bit, and you could do that with really no cost and very minimal effort, something you'd be interested in? And I would expect yes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a simple 3-step process that you can use in order to improve your customer experience, and then in turn drive your underlying profitability, because if the customers have a better experience, that's going to drive customer retention as well as referrals. So before we get that started, though, I do have to give you a little bit of a commercial for SCORE. Now, we are with the Akron chapter of SCORE, and the Akron chapter of SCORE is part of a nationwide network of SCORE affiliates. The SCORE has been established to foster vibrant small business community. We do this through mentoring and through education. At the end of the day, our vision is that every person has the support that they need in order to thrive as a small business owner. So how do we do this? Well, we said through education and through mentoring. And our chapter has is part of a nationwide network that partners with the Small Business Association. Across the country, we have over 10,000 volunteers in 225 chapters ready to help you with your small business questions. Locally, the Akron chapter serves a 5-county region: Mahoning, Medina, Portage, Summit, and Wayne counties within the state of Ohio. And we have about 40 experienced professionals ready to work with you to help you solve your business questions and problems. And things have shown that it works. Over the time that we've been established, since 1965, we have helped over 65,000 clients, 55,000 clients get their business questions answered and get their businesses started up. And how do we do that? Well, we talked about mentoring. And a lot of times people will say, oh, I just don't want to deal with this ongoing thing. I need a quick answer. That's it. And that's okay. Our mentoring is free and confidential and it's on your terms. So if you want a long-term relationship with a mentor, someone to work with you as you start up and grow your business, that's cool. We have a lot of people that have worked with us for years. On the other hand, if you have a simple question and you just want to talk to someone and be done with it, that's fine as well. Our mentors are here to help you on your terms. We also offer a lot of webinars and webinars like this. Here you've got a listing of some of the webinars we offer. The Business Plan 101 is probably one of our most popular. These webinars are offered through the Akron chapter, but you can also find a listing of webinars offered on a national basis or recordings. So with that, the commercial is over, and I'm going to talk about driving your customer experience. Now, how this started, it started a couple of years ago. My husband and I were trying to get some painting done. And we reached out to several people, tried to find painters. We looked online, tried to find painters. And finally, I reached out to 3 different local painters. They were identified as being pretty good. So the first call I made, it was like, this is Joe, leave a message. I had absolutely no idea who Joe was, if he was a painter, if he was going to call me back, and when he was going to call me back. Very frustrating. The next dude, I did reach him. He said he would be out the next day to give us a quote, and he never showed. It wasn't until we got to the third fellow that actually he showed. He was very professional. He came when he was supposed to. He said he would give us a quote by Friday. When the quote didn't come on Friday, he basically had someone call us and let us know that it would come in the following week. Well, guess who got the business? The third gentleman was the one that got our business because he provided a superior customer experience. I don't know why the first 2 didn't call me back or show up. Maybe they felt my job was too small. Maybe they felt my job was too big. Maybe they were just really busy. But they made a decision not to follow through because of their perspective. And they didn't see it from the customer's perspective. They didn't see that this could have a long-term impact and that I'm not going to recommend them ever going forward, and I'm not going to have them do any follow-on work. So by taking a closer look at the customer's experience, in this case, it would be me, they could drive satisfaction and drive increased business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, pop quiz. What would you say of the following is true? First, the customer experience is as important as the overall product or service that you're providing. B, many customers will say that they will pay more if they get a better experience. Or is it C? C is the customers will walk away after a bad experience. Or D, all of the above. Now, if you said D, you are on it. D, all of the above is correct. And these point to the reasons why we should care about the customer experience. Give you some examples. Salesforce.com did a survey. And in that survey, 88% of the survey respondents indicated that, yes, the service that they receive, the customer experience, is every bit as important as the products or the services provided by the vendor. Now go on behind, more than that, 61% said that they would actually pay a premium up to 5% if they could be assured of having a positive customer experience. And I thought this was fascinating because think about what you could do with 5% more products. And then finally, 66% say that they'd actually walk away from someone based on a poor experience. So all these reasons tie together and let us show us why it's important to take that little bit of extra effort to ensure that the customer experience is positive. It would increase retention. It will provide a better reputation for your business, and it may even let you charge a little bit more for your services and products. And the good news is it's not that complicated. We're going to share with you today a 3-step process that you can use to better understand and to identify opportunities to cost effectively, quickly improve the customer experience. And that process is first, understanding your customer. Second, mapping the customer journey. And then third, identifying opportunities. So today we're going to walk through each of these steps, and I'll stop at the end of each one in order to capture any questions for you. And when we leave here today, the templates that we're using will also be sent out with the slides and with the recording for this presentation so that you'll have them to use for yourself. All right, ready to go? I'm assuming, Laura, we don't have any questions yet.
Nope, not yet.
All right, so step one, understanding the customer. Now the tool that let me start again. Step one, understanding your customer. Jeff Bezos, he says, start with the customer in mind and work backwards. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to start with that customer and work our way backward to our businesses to see how we can best meet their needs. And the tool that we're going to use is called a customer persona. Now, this is just an example. I know that we'll go through each of the sections in more detail. But the customer persona is very simply a one-page description of the customer, what they need, what their pain points are, and how we can meet their needs. And in case you say, oh man, this is kind of silly. It's I don't have time for this. This is a tool that's used across companies. I worked for Progressive for a while, and at Progressive, they have their persona is called the Robinsons. Robinsons are a typical middle-aged family with kids and a dog living in the suburbs. That persona was used to drive marketing decisions, to affect or be considered when you're developing customer-facing computer applications, and was used throughout the entire organization. Everybody knew who the Robinsons were. Now think about the power of that. If you had a tool where everybody in your business knows who the primary customers are and how that you can meet their needs to drive revenue. It's a very powerful tool. So how do we create this? And again, we'll send this template to you. So first, this kind of follows the 90-10 rule. We all know that 90% of our profits come from probably 10% of the customer groups. So the very first thing we want to do is to understand who those 1 to 3 customer groups are that are going to be the most profitable for a business. And depending on your business, this could be a consumer, a B2C business, or it could be B2B. The example we're looking at here is our painter, and so we're going to consider this a business to consumer application. So once you know who these customers are, you want to go out and get all the information you can about those customers. Now you might say, well, I know who my customers are. I don't need to bother with this, but a lot of times things are missed because we make assumptions about who our customers are, and it's not that hard to do. If you are in a customer-facing business, you can just talk to your customers as they're at the checkout. Perhaps you send a follow-up survey to your customers after they've been in your business to say, hey, what was your experience? What did you think? One of the most important and overlooked places to get information is from your associates. If you're in a customer-facing business, say retail, a sales associate has tremendous insight into what the customers feel. If you're in a restaurant or a hospitality business, the people that work the front desk or the people that serve those clients, they're the ones that are going to know what the feedback is going to be. So talk to your customers, talk to your clientele, talk to your employees, and try to get a full picture of your customers. All right, now we're down to the work of doing the customer persona. And if you notice, there's divided into a couple parts. There's the demographics. This stuff you probably know from your marketing plan. Gender, how much they make, where they're located, how old they are. But then you're going to take it a little bit further and to look into some of those softer things. We're going to consider the psychometrics. What does our customer's goal? Why do they contact me? You know, they might have said, well, they want a painting, but really their underlying goal might be that they want to have a good yard for entertaining customers or for entertaining friends. So understanding that underlying goal can make a difference. What are the challenges or problems? What are the pain points that they follow? Depending on what your situation is, you may want to note down what their personality types are and their underlying motivation. Some other things that you may want to include is direct quotes. Direct quotes give you a feel for what the customer is actually saying and makes it more personal, feel more real. And you also probably would choose to put in what you can do to meet their needs. So here's that first section. This is the demographics. And notice on the upper left, we've got a picture. And that picture is who the Smiths are. This is kind of important because we want to have a single piece of paper that you can hang up on your desk, put on your bulletin board, that gives everybody a common understanding of who your major clients are. And by having a picture, it makes it much clearer who you are trying to serve. And you'll see in this section, we have a lot of that general demographic information, such as age, where they live, that type of thing. I apologize. So then we move on to some of the other information. We talked about the identifiers or those other factors, the psychographics that we want to look at. In this case, maybe we want to capture what the customer's primary social media is. In this group, it's probably Facebook. These people are probably not into Instagram. This demographic also prefers talking on the phone rather than being text message. Other things that you might want to consider is what their goals and challenges are. The Smiths have told us that the home repairs are getting to be a little bit more than they just want to deal with, but it's still important for them to have a place where they can entertain friends and family. So that is what their underlying motivation is. So we've captured a couple of quotes, which makes the customer real to us. But the last thing I want to point out here is the next area we put what we can do for them. And you notice through this analysis, we've identified a couple additional things. We started out as a deck painting company. We thought the product we were going to offer them was painting, but maybe we can clean their decks as well. Well, and they really don't feel that they have the ability to maintain their property. Perhaps there's an opportunity to do some small repairs, take care of those warped decking that would make them safer and better able to entertain. So we've identified two potential opportunities for additional services or products that we can offer to them, and we've just started our effort. So here's again what the entire package looks like. It's just a single sheet, and we'll provide you with this template. If you don't like this template, feel free to change it, or you can find loads of them out on the internet. Okay, any questions on developing the customer persona to better understand your customer?
All right, everybody, you can type in your questions. We're going to pause for a second to see if anybody has any. No questions yet, Mary.
Okay, we'll move on and just catch them. All right, so step 2. We know who our customers are. We know who the drivers are. We know what their motivations are. Now it's time to basically take a look at things from their point of view, from their experience. A leading trainer tells us the customer's perspective is your reality. It doesn't really matter if my painter thinks that he's too busy to call me back. What matters is that I'm left with a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm going to say that they're not dependable. My perspective is that they're not a dependable person, and that's it. That's going to impact their bottom line. That's going to impact their reputation and their ability to gain new customers. So how do we do this customer map? Well, the very first thing we do is identify what major activities the customer must perform when dealing with us. Now, this is important. It doesn't matter exactly. You might call the steps different than I do. The important thing is to take it from the customer's perspective. We all tend to take a look at it from what our perspective is. And a lot of times the customers actually deal with us before we ever even talk to them because they're looking at our website, they're looking at our online presence, or maybe they're getting referrals from other people. So you're going to take a look, identify those major activities. Then you're going to kind of whittle it down a little bit more. So when you're looking at those major activities, sometimes it gets a little bit complex, a little bit complicated. That's okay, just break it down. Maybe you take a look at just one group of customers, one customer segment, one channel. Maybe you'll develop a separate summary for people that go in through the web versus walking into your location independently. Or maybe you would want to consider things for different parts of the customer experience. And that's fine. You can break this down any way that makes sense to you. I took it as an 8-step process and started with when I was trying to find the customer, because that is my first touch point in this overall process. So when I was starting this effort, the first thing I did was try to contact the painter. I then made an appointment for them to come out to my home to make a quote. I met with them to get a quote, received the quote, and then made an agreement to get the work done. Now notice, the first 3 steps here are before I've ever met the person. The first 5 steps are before they've ever done any work, but they've already left a huge impression with me, the consumer, on how they're going to be going forward. Step 6 is once they completed the work, the consumer would approve that work, receive a quote, and then pay the quote, or receive an invoice and pay the invoice. Now notice in this example, none of the painters that I talked to did any follow-up. I got the quote, that was it. Wouldn't it be cool if we had some follow-up contact? Maybe a thank you note. Maybe 6 months after the work, they said, hi, wanted to check in and see if you need anything else. Or this might be a perfect opportunity for them to survey us to determine how we felt about our customer experience and if there was opportunities for improvement. So these are the 8 steps that we are going to look at from the standpoint of the customer experience. And for each of those steps, we're going to break things down a little bit. We're first going to take that activity and we're going to list the tasks. For example, when I decided I wanted to contact the supplier or the painter, first I did a web search. Maybe I talked to friends and family. I then located the contact information. So I had to drill in and go to their webpage or do something like a Yelp and try to find it. Before I ever even talked to anybody, I had several touch points with that customer, or excuse me, with that vendor. I saw their website if they had one. I heard their word of mouth reputations from my neighbors and friends, and I got the search engine results. So these are all areas that we can look at for potential improvements. Let's take a look at the second one, which was when I started to call them. And this is where things started to fall apart a little bit for me. I was calling, trying to make an appointment. So first I called each of the 3 painters. In some cases, I got a voicemail and it said, hey, leave a message, I'll get back to you. I didn't know if I had the right guy. I didn't know when he would get back to me. I didn't know if this was even still in business. Now, wouldn't it be nice if they said, hi, you've reached Joe the painter. I'm not here right now to take your phone call, but please leave a message and I will call you back within 24 hours. That would have been a huge improvement in the overall customer experience. So I left my message, I waited for a reply, and finally I get a call back, at least from the one fellow, and I agreed to an appointment. Touch points with them in several places. Touch places with the phone call. I looked at their website. If I hadn't done a phone call, I could have done email. And I interacted with them based on their voicemail. And again, this is before I've ever even met the painter. So once you have that information, now we get into that touchy-feely stuff. We are going to take a look at things from the customer perspective. How did the customer see this? What was their experience? What was their motivation? How were they feeling? What was the pain points? So you're going to add the emotions, the motivations, the pain points to your spreadsheet. And then you're going to rate that overall customer experience. And by rating that customer experience, it helps you identify the areas that you can take a look at. So let's see what that looks like. So here, for the first touch point, which was when I was trying to identify things, as I reached out, my motivation to get them was to find a painter that could come out and fix my problem. I was a little bit nervous. I was nervous because I wasn't sure I could afford them. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get the work done in the time that I wanted. So as I went into this experience, the obstacle I found was that I had difficulty finding that customer information. I wasn't able to determine from their listings online when I did a Google search if they were even still in business. Now, despite those obstacles, I kind of rated this as expected. I think that we've all kind of realized with smaller businesses, they're not going to have a flashy website. They're not always going to have the best presence online, and that's okay. So I rated that as expected. However, when I went to the second step, I saw that it was a little bit more frustrating. Again, I didn't know if I got the right person. I didn't know when they would call me back. As an aside, research has shown that if you have something where there's going to be a delay for a customer and you manage that expectation, you say, I will call you back in 24 hours, and you do. Customers are okay to wait. They understand that you're busy, that you're away from the office, that you're dealing with other clients. That's fine. They just want to know when they can expect a call back. So my experience in the second step was pretty negative, and so I gave that a negative rating. So we continue this process through each one of the major activities, identifying the tasks associated with the activity, identifying the customer's perspective, pain points, and motivation, and then rating the activity to help us prioritize where to shift our attention to. All right, pop quiz. Once this is done, you're done. Never again. All done. Never have to look at this for the rest of your life. Well, if you said false, you are correct. This is not a one and done. This exercise should be done annually, as part of maybe your strategic review. And why? Because things change. Your clients change, technologies change, expectations change. And think about it. 20 years ago, if we were to place an order and have to pay for shipping and the order came in a week, we'd be pretty happy, right? But today we expect free shipping and we want it tomorrow. Our expectations change. Perhaps your clients grow up, they mature. If you're dealing with young adults and they, in the next year, they start to get in their 30s and their taste change. So again, you would want to know what they are for each as they grow. And then finally, technology changes. Think about how the internet has changed our experience over the past several years. We've gone from basically looking up in the yellow pages and trying to find a local painter, always getting AAA, the first one, to doing some research online and checking out their Better Business criteria. So all these things play in to your strategy for your customer experience, and they need to be reviewed on a periodic basis. Okay, so before we move on to steps that you can take to identify opportunities, are there any questions on mapping the customer journey?
All right, everybody, you can type in your question. You can even raise your hand if you'd like. Put it in the chat or the Q&A. Mary, I need to know, did you ever get your painting done?
We did, and it's beautiful. Actually, we hired two different painters, one for the front and one for the back. Because the dude up front, he didn't want to do ladders.
Well, me neither. All right, any questions? Oh, here we go. Ari asked, I offer a variety of learning experiences. Do I pick one course to map the journey?
Could you please repeat that, Laura? Could you?
Sure. I offer a variety of learning experiences. Do I pick one course to map the journey?
So that would be a really good way to start if there's enough difference. So mapping one course helps you narrow things down and lets you create the focus. So that's like one interaction or one type. Now, if those, okay, so for example, I developed some classes. If I had perhaps an in-person class and a webinar, then I would probably choose one or the other to get started. And then later on, look at the second one. If I was offering a class on project management and a class on customer experience, if the process was the same, I probably would just combine the two. But if there's a significant difference in customer experience, then I would separate them out. It's really up to you what works best for you and helps you think things through. These are kind of like brainstorming tools. Does that answer your question?
Oops.
Okay, so if it doesn't answer your question, I will be glad to revisit that when we.
He
before
actually, they raised their hand,
Okay.
so I'm gonna let him speak directly. All
Great.
right, allow to talk. Okay, go ahead, Ari.
Okay, so I do offer a variety of different learning experiences. And I guess I'm wondering, when I'm doing the customer journey, am I focusing on each product offering, or am I looking at the experience for my company? Do you know?
So if you were talking about each product, okay, so for example, you're offering classes, and I'm assuming you would start with when the customer goes to register, maybe? Do they follow the same process for registering no matter what the offering is?
Yes, at this point, it may change, but yes, right now.
Okay, so if it might change, I think I probably would look at them individually then.
Okay. Okay, and okay, so I'm sorry to belabor this,
That's
but
fine.
or on your website, one of the things that they talk about is sort of explaining what the customer journey might look like. How would I approach that um, as a company, or if I'm describing it, should I look at it just focus on one offering and use that?
I think that based on what you're telling me, I probably would start with one offering, and I would go through the steps that your individual customer goes through.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else, Laura?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Now, this is the fun part. You know who your customers are. You know kind of the steps that they go through and what the tasks are. And now it's an opportunity for you to take a look and identify opportunities. And what the cool thing is a lot of times these things don't cost anything, and they're things that you can do very quickly and still improve the customer experience. So for each one of those steps, you're going to want to take a look at it and to answer a few questions. So, for example, will customers experience positive, negative, or neutral? So in my case, my expectations for the voicemail, that was a negative experience for me because I expect to know when they're going to call me back. Something that could be potentially improved. Did the customer experience a delay? Well, in the case of our painter, yeah, we experienced a delay. We experienced a delay in the fact that they weren't there. That may not be something that we really need to address. You could have a full-time office administrator sitting there waiting for phone calls. That's a huge cost though, and that may not be something that you want to pursue, but it's something to think about in part of your brainstorming. So did the customer experience frustration? So we talked about that enough. We basically did have some frustration with not getting responsiveness from people. Did the customer have the information that they needed at each step in the process? And I would say with my Ultimate Painter, yeah, I had the information. He actually, like, again, he called when they weren't going to have the quote provided on the time that they had said, and they kept me informed throughout the overall process. And then finally, are all the customer activities required? In some cases, we've had procedures that we've used for 10 years, and we forget that maybe we don't need all this stuff anymore. We don't need to have a mailing address because we're dealing with emails, for example. So take a look at your process and determine whether or not the customer steps are actually even required. Now, taking a look at our painter example, who can identify a couple opportunities for improvement for the painting business? Take a couple seconds, think about it, and why don't you raise your hands to give us some feedback?
All right, everybody. This is one of those workshops where participation is required. Can we see the spreadsheet? This question. Sure. Any thoughts? Improve the website is one.
Excellent. So improving the web presence, most in today's world, most of our companies were expected to have a presence online. If you don't have, sometimes it's just not worth to have a website, but at a minimum, you should have a Google My Business type listing, because that will help improve your the search results, and it will also help you get your contact information out to the customer. So that's a good example, yes. Anything else, Laura?
Call back more quickly.
Call back, but more quickly, and also, setting the expectations. That's a great thing, because when you don't get feedback, you don't know when to expect them. You're just kind of like hanging around. So that's a good one. So the one thing that I kind of picked up on was that they kind of missed an opportunity at the end to provide feedback, as far as at the end. They could have done like a thank you survey or something like that. And then another idea would be to improve their voicemail. And I don't know if you know this, but you can actually get phones. If you don't want your personal phone to be interfered with, you can actually get 2 lines on the same phone device, so that you can have 1 line for your business and 1 line for your personal use.
Mary, they actually too, Google offers you can set up a phone number through Google and it'll ring to your phone.
And I have several clients that are doing that. That's
Yeah,
a great
it's
point,
great.
Laura.
Yeah.
Any other ideas?
Content page about us.
Oh, wow. If they'd had a content page about us, I would have known if they were able to, if that was the type of business that they did. That's great.
Nothing else so far.
Okay, good. So we had an example here about how we could use a couple simple tools. We could use the customer persona, understand our customers, the customer journey map, which is that spreadsheet that can help us understand what their experiences are and where the opportunities are for improvement. And then we have a checklist, and that checklist can be used to identify potential opportunities for improvement. But don't let it go there. As you saw, we talked about a couple quick things. Websites are a little bit of a big deal, but checking out your voicemail, that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. Making sure that you have a response that your customers know when they can get back, when you'll get back to them. That's pretty simple. These are things that you can do to improve that customer experience immediately. You can do it today when you leave. So don't lose it. So I'd like to encourage you to go through this exercise. Laura will send you the template when she sends out the slides, and go through the exercise. Try to identify your customer's experience, their customer journey. Try to identify opportunities for improvement, and then make a plan to do some of those within the next couple weeks. So with that, are there any final questions before we wrap up?
Anyone else with questions?
All right, so today we talked about a simple 3-step process, which you can use in order to better understand your customer. Understanding your customer, mapping the customer journey, and identifying opportunities. We talked about next steps, encouraging you to try to apply this in your own business. And what if you have problems? We will be more than glad to work with you. You can reach out to your existing mentor. If you don't have a mentor, go to SCORE.org and click on the Find a Mentor, and you can actually search the database of available mentors in order to find someone that can work with you on your business questions and help you get your business plan started. I've included my email at the bottom. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear, one, if the tools work for you, where we can make improvements, and if there's any specific questions you have, I'm more than happy to answer them. So please reach out to me if you have any questions after the session.
All right, Ari said, no questions, but this approach is very helpful. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you again. Take care.
All right, everybody. Again, you'll get the templates and the slides and video at the end of by the end of the day. And if you want to take any more SCORE webinars, just go to our website, search for the workshops, and register. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a great one. Thank you.